name's Alex Mills. I'm a viticultural and enological consultant, and do predominantly sort of a lot of work here at Pebblebed.
Yeah.
And sort of my focus really is on vineyards across the southwest. That way, where my passion sort of lies really. And
Right.
my interest in the winemaking industry sort of really sparked when I started working at Yellowstone Vineyard, which is just outside of Tiverton, when I was about 14. My parents were very good friends of the owners there, Roger and Juliet, and I started helping out in the cafe in the vineyard just as a sort of summer job. And well, it's one of those things that got more and more involved, and the interest sort of grew and grew, and I've ended up here sort of 7 years later, having done a Bachelor of Science degree in viticulture and enology, which is winemaking and the sort of scientific management of a vineyard.
Right, brilliant.
A normal day here sort of tends to involve this time of year of firstly coming in, sort of checking all the wines that have been fermenting well and check the progress of each tank, checking for the sort of right flavours coming through into the wine and sort of how I can best manage that. And as winter's drawing closer, it's starting to go and prune the vines, just as they've gone into dormancy, and so over the winter they're pruned right back. And
For the spring growth.
Winemaking sort of across the world, and especially here at Pebblebed, really starts in the vineyard. You can't sort of make a good quality wine out of poor grapes, so we've really got to tend to the vines and nurture them throughout the summer.
Yeah.
And this tends to start in spring when we're keeping an eye for the first growth from the vines. The buds start to burst sort of late April, start of May, so we're keen to keep an eye on for any late frosts, hoping that it'll be nice and warm and won't kill off any of the buds. And then the grapes will really start to become what looks like a typical bunch of grapes, not until about late July, start of August. And so from this point we're doing everything we can to manage the canopy, to get as much sunlight in as possible and keep the vines in check. We don't want them sort of going wild and becoming like a hedgerow, so we've got to meticulously sort of tend to the vines, making everything's alright, making sure they've got enough nutrients to produce a good healthy canopy and therefore produce a good healthy vine and therefore the best quality grapes. And then the most exciting bit really is starts in September. This is when the grapes start to be harvested. The early ones tend to be ready about middle of September, so that a couple of weeks prior to this we're out in the vineyard checking that sort of every few days, see how they're ripening. So we check the sugar levels and also the acidity levels, which is very important depending on which sort of style of wine you're looking to make. So then, obviously, once all the grapes are harvested by hands, we have a sort of big, at Pebblebed, sort of community day for picking the grapes. So people, friends, family all come along, and it's a sort of a lovely sort of event like you would get in a sort of a French chateau. And then of course it's a few late nights pressing all the grapes and extracting the juice, getting them into the tanks, and then fermenting them. So the fermentation usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks depending on the wine. And then throughout the course of the winter we'll do a process called racking, which is where you draw off the clear wine off the layer of sediment, and this will be done a few times over the course of winter. And then the still wines won't be ready till the following June. So it's about sort of a 9-month process in all. Then with the sparkling wines, even longer than that unfortunately. You've got to resist drinking them too soon. These will be bottled about February, March time. And then they'll go into the cool dark cellars here in the Pebblebed winery, where they'll sit for about 18 months and go through a second fermentation, exactly the same way as champagne's made. And hopefully we'll produce a good quality product at the end of it. And of course English sparkling wine is beating all of the champagnes at their own game nowadays.